Hey everybody, welcome to another Q&A session with Q&A Games. Today I'll be doing an audio version of the game rules for Guess Quest. And before I get started, let me tell you how these videos are going to go. First, there's 3 videos. The first one is how to start, the second one is how to play, and the third one is how to win. And throughout the video I'll be holding up signs that say press pause. Okay, and when I hold up this sign, basically press pause literally on the video and do what was instructed in the step before I held up the sign. Okay, so let's get started. For every game you need players. So the first step to this game is gathering either one other person you want to play the game with or teams, other people you want to play the game with. So right now go ahead and decide who you want to play with or split up into teams. Okay, the next step is to choose a timekeeper and a scorekeeper. The scorekeeper, you might not want to have them play in the game with you. So as a team, decide whether or not the scorekeeper is going to play with you. And the reason is because that might lead to bias depending on what team the scorekeeper is on. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Alright, so now you're going to discuss the preferences for the total time you want to spend on each game session. A game session is pretty much the length of time you play until you decide on who's a winner. So for a game session, I would say at least 30 minutes is a good enough time, but that's up to you. Okay, so now everyone's going to pull out a blank piece of paper and rip it up into small pieces, not too small, about the size of maybe half an index, a sticky note. So on each piece of paper, you want enough piece of papers for all the other players in the game. So if you're playing with 10 people, you need 9 pieces of paper because you're going to write, on those papers, you're going to write your anonymous first impression of each player. So you're just going to write that each person's name on one piece of paper and a word or a sentence that came to mind when you first met that person, right? So it could be a descriptive word, funny, cool, smart, humorous, whatever you want to pick. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Okay, so now all those pieces of paper with your first impressions, go ahead and push those to the side. And at the end of the game, we'll get into that, what you do with that. So that'll be in the last video that I share with you, okay? So now, the next thing you need to do is pull out all the question cards in your game box. And the question cards kind of look like this. They're colorful. There should be 24 in every box. So go ahead and look around, and if you're playing with 4 people, each person gets 6 cards, right? If you're playing with 10 people, some people get 2, some people get 3 cards. So divide up your question cards for all the people that you're playing with and divide it up evenly. Okay, so now in your box there's 3 other types of cards. There's your pass it cards, your prove it cards, and your extra point cards. So there's 6 of each type of card. So each team is going to get 3 pass it cards, each team is going to get 3 prove it cards, and each team is going to get 3 extra point cards. So go ahead and divide those out. Okay, so now to go ahead and get started, you need a timekeeper. You already told you about that. The timekeeper is going to literally write down the start time when the first question card is picked up. And if y'all decided as a team to play for 30 minutes, then the only other thing the timekeeper does is pretty much says time's up when the 30 minutes is passed. Okay? And also on each card, you'll see that every question starts with IYHTG, and IYHTG stands for if you had to guess. Okay? That's literally what it means. All right? So in place of IYHTG, you'll say if you had to guess. Okay? So join me for the next video on how to play the game.